Welcome to the third and final part of our first topic, Introduction to Communication Systems. We have talked about most of the things and points we want to cover in this topic in the previous two lectures. We will conclude our discussion with some final concepts. So first of all, we have bandwidth of a communication channel. The bandwidth of a communication channel is basically the difference between the highest and lowest frequency that the channel can allow to pass. For example, if we are communicating with a copper wire, we have a channel bandwidth of 1 megahertz. For coaxial cable, we have 100 to 500 megahertz. We can achieve up to gigahertz range for radio frequency and microwave. And for optical fiber, that range is up to terahertz. Important point here is, bandwidth of a communication channel must be equal or greater than the bandwidth of the information. Let's say I have a signal which has a bandwidth of 50 megahertz. Now, as my signal has a bandwidth of 50 megahertz, I cannot transmit it through a copper wire because copper wire only offers me a bandwidth of 1 megahertz. So if I want to transmit that signal of 50 megahertz bandwidth, I may consider coaxial cable or radio frequency. Moving on, we will talk about some characteristics of some of the popular transmission channels such as twisted pair copper cable, optical fiber, etc. In this course, there is no need of detailed discussions of these characteristics. We will just pick up some information and gain some insight about the qualities of these transmission channels. First of all, we have twisted pair copper cable. It is obviously very less expensive and widely used, but the problem with it is that attenuation is very dominant in this twisted pair copper cable, and we need to install amplifiers and repeaters at certain intervals to uphold the quality of the transmitted signal. Then it is very susceptible to interference and noise. So these are some shortcomings of this twisted pair copper cable. Then comes coaxial cable. Coaxial cable is the most commonly used transmission channel because it is very inexpensive, light, flexible and easy to work with, and it is also less susceptible to interference and noise compared to copper wires. Also supports a higher data rate and longer distance, and a superior frequency characteristics is shown by coaxial cable compared to the twisted pair copper cable. Now, optical fiber offers much higher bandwidth than coaxial cable or copper wire and can carry hundreds of Gbps over tens of kilometers, and it is very smaller in size and lightweight, and also shows a very lower attenuation compared to the previously mentioned channels. So overall, optical fiber is now widely used, and its use is increasing day by day as it provides better bandwidth and noise performance. In future, if someone is interested, you might take a course which is called Optical Fiber Communication, where the structure and formation of optical fibers, characteristics of optical fiber communication are discussed in details. Lastly, we have wireless medium. In the case of wireless medium, Earth's atmosphere is used as transmission media, and it offers obviously mobility and flexibility. You cannot actually carry your landline everywhere you go. It is very convenient to use, but the problems are it is very much susceptible to multi-user interference, and the security is a big concern here. These are some popular mediums that we use for communication. We can actually model a transmission channel with electrical parameters. Here is a lamp model shown. In series we have inductance and resistance, and in parallel we have capacitance and conductance, which is actually reciprocal of the resistance. Detail of these models are not necessary here. We can derive a propagation constant gamma from these parameters L, R, C and G, and gamma is actually alpha plus J beta. Here alpha and beta are two constants. Their names are attenuation constant alpha and phase constant beta. So what is attenuation constant? We previously talked about attenuation. Attenuation corresponds to the process of weakening of the strength of a signal. As the distance increases, the signal is degraded, and that is called attenuation. Now, attenuation constant alpha determines the attenuation of a signal of a particular frequency omega over a unit distance, and the unit is Nepers per unit length. So if my attenuation constant is, let's say, 0.5 Nepers per unit length, that means that for the particular frequency signal over a unit length, the signal is degraded by 0.5 Nepers. Then comes phase constant. Whenever a signal is transmitted through a channel, a delay or time delay is introduced, and the phase constant determines the phase change or delay in the signal of a particular frequency omega over a unit distance, and the unit is radians per unit length. We have also talked about distortion, which is an undesirable channel impairment. We want to avoid distortion. We can actually theoretically achieve distortionless transmission if we follow some conditions. The conditions are, let's say I have a signal, and we have talked about bandwidth, right? In a signal there are multiple frequencies. If all the frequency components of a signal is attenuated at same rate, that means the amplitude of all the frequency components are multiplied by the same factor. And another condition is the delay that is introduced should be same to all the frequency components. If these two conditions can be achieved, we can achieve actually distortionless transmission. Here you can see that if input is xt and output is yt, then yt is actually kxt minus tau. That is, all the frequency components are multiplied by the same factor k, and the time delay is also tau. Here you can see that in frequency domain, y omega is actually kx omega e to the power minus j omega tau. This is actually the Fourier transform of this equation here. The k is constant, so it remains k, and if xt has a Fourier transform of x omega, then this delay is actually introducing this term here, x omega multiplied by e to the power minus j omega tau. Here tau is the time delay and k is the constant. Then comes channel capacity. This is a very important formula in the history of communication, Shannon's capacity formula, C equal to B log base 2 1 plus SNR BPS. As we are talking about wireless communication these days more and more, we are moving generation to generation, 2G to 3G, 3G to 4G, and now we are talking about 5G, and the speed of the communication is increasing. We are talking about higher and higher kbps, mbps, cbps, and this is the capacity of a transmission channel C. And this capacity actually depends on the bandwidth of the channel B, and the capacity actually increases linearly with the bandwidth. And SNR is actually the signal to noise ratio. Here is the definition of SNR given. SNR equal to signal power by noise power. As the SNR increases, capacity also increases. So if we want to achieve a better transmission operation, that the noise is less dominant, we have to increase the SNR, and for higher SNR we need higher channel capacity. Channel capacity C increases linearly with B and logarithmically with the SNR. The two of the most important resources in the communication are transmitted power and the channel bandwidth. And this is the final slide. Frequencies are not unlimited. The bandwidth is actually limited. Here is a chart you can see. This chart, it's not very clear here, but the idea is this is the whole bandwidth available for United States, and United States frequency allocation body actually allocates the frequency to different organizations, frequency distributions for different organizations, let's say for police, for radio, for television, etc., etc. For Bangladesh Telecommunication Regulatory Commission, BTRC, actually allocates the spectrum. If you want to open a radio channel, let's say, you have to buy the bandwidth for it. Or if you want to set up a mobile network company here in Bangladesh, you have to buy bandwidth from BTRC. So that is the end of the first topic, Introduction to Communication Systems. We have talked about a lot of things here, the history of communication, the block diagram of a basic communication system. We have talked a little bit about entropy and measurement of information. Then we talked about bandwidth, we talked about channel impairments, and lastly we talked about some of the popular channels and their characteristics and some modeling, and finally the resources in communication. So this is the end of the part 1, Introduction to Communication Systems. Hope to see you in the part 2, which is actually amplitude modulation. Thank you.